Hey, I'm Eric, the president of Dignity Coconuts. It's National Trafficking Prevention Month. And so we're tackling some of the common myths that people believe about trafficking. And so today we're with Jim Larson from Thailand, who's been working for many years fighting against trafficking. Jim, it's good to have you on the show.
Good to be here. Thanks. Good to see you, Eric.
Tell us a little bit about how long you've been fighting against trafficking and in the context that you're in.
Well, my wife and I, along with our younger children, moved to Thailand, to Bangkok in 2004, and dived in really to working with women in the expat, the Western-oriented red light areas there, which mostly draw women from the rural northeast of Thailand.
Wow. That's incredible work. It's an honor to be with you today. For us in America, we've seen movies like Taken with Liam Neeson and others that show trafficking, and so we have this idea of what it is and what it looks like. But I think there's a lot of myths that I've been learning about, and so I'm excited to talk with you about them. The first myth about trafficking we're tackling for National Prevention Month is trafficked women are usually kidnapped.
Yeah, it makes for a good movie, doesn't it? I thought the same thing, right? The reality is there's a whole system that really revolves around personal and family community brokenness. We have rarely seen women who are coerced explicitly into trafficking, but very much implicitly, women migrate or are pressured by family or by their own situation to get involved in the industry. And I think that's what we say is really the bottom of the iceberg. You could call trafficking the coerced type, maybe the tip, but I would even say the top of the tip. It's really a more complex thing that, again, involves culture of poverty and a number of factors.
Tell us more about those factors that go into the coercion.
Okay, Thailand in particular, and many of these global South economies are based around exporting, and Philippines maybe have some similarities. India, of course, is a much larger country, but in Thailand, the center is Bangkok and suburbs, and there's a lot of factories there. In fact, it has been the disk drive capital of the world with Seagate and Western Digital with their factories. And you have these opportunities needing low-priced labor and attracting folks from the rural areas on the rice farms. Well, you also have a history in Thai culture, as in many cultures, of kind of male polygamy or polygyny, right? Guys having mistresses or and so forth, and it's kind of a value that goes back in history. And well, you've got that kind of understanding going on, that kind of expectation, and what you end up with when you have the separated family. So you got the father separated, or the husband separated, and he's away and plays around, and before you know it, we got a single mom. And then she has to follow, right, the money as well in order to support her children, and she ends up in selling what she can.
Myth number 2 about trafficking is we need more raids on brothels. Jim, give us your perspective.
I had a worker who worked more with forced trafficking than we do. We were talking about this problem. She said that you open the door of a closed brothel, the girls don't come running out. There are so many other factors. In fact, sure, you could raid, but what are you going to do with them? Aftercare is way more difficult than one might think. You've got personal trauma. You've got ongoing family pressure. What are you going to do? Send her back home? She's got the same situation. Again, it's a glamorous idea. And as Americans, we like the quick fixes. The hard reality that we have to face is that there just are not. That doesn't mean to say we should not be involved. Oh, of course we should, but it takes commitment. It takes time. That's a little harder pill for folks to swallow.
And what does it take to help these women get out?
Well, my view, and I'm in the Christian world. I've been involved in just following the example of Jesus is kind of what my philosophy is. And the whole example is getting among people, right? not just kind of shooting in from a distance and, parachuting in and fixing it, but actually, being on the ground and living the example and teaching. And whether it's something like the Black Lives Matter you guys have in the Twin Cities, or something like this, folks have to, spend time and get, build relationships, get to know people who are poor, all right? Go to neighborhoods, spend time, make those folks your friends. That's what we really advocate. That is really the only answer. In fact, I can say, okay, Jesus himself was very clear that hurting innocent people was the worst thing one could do. He said it's like that person deserves to have a stone tied around their neck and thrown into the bottom of the sea. Okay. But despite human trafficking, sex trafficking being legal and widely practiced in the Roman Empire, not a word. Do you think it was because he didn't care? No, because it's changed lives. It's we being different and doing different that's going to fix the problem. Now, laws and enforcement, yes, they matter. Okay. And it's all that I'm saying is definitely not to say don't worry about it, and organizations that do focus on the legal side and that are misguided and so forth. No, it's just that it's going to take a lot more than that. Am I being too intense?
No, I love it. I appreciate the passion. That's what I want.
Yeah, this gets me going.
Jim, that's really what I want, is I want the passion. So whatever it takes to get that out. Paint a picture for us of what it looks like to help these girls really get out.
When we started, as a good American, I assumed that the main problem, the main need was opportunity. Provide opportunity and away we go. What we found was that the culture of poverty, which you can look it up, okay, the broad culture of poverty that creates a lot of unhealthy thinking. And from a psychological point of view, it's childhood trauma, all right, that unsafety that works itself out into adulthood in lots of unhealthy habits and ways of thinking and living. And what we found was when we gave opportunity to women, and I did read this, like I was looking on forums and stuff before we moved, like, oh, I tried to get this girl out of the bar and help her, give her a job. And she was like, she didn't show up, and she's like being all like entitled and this and that, and that's what we've seen. Okay. One of the sad things is that while, and it's one of the reasons, by the way, in terms of any talk or any proposals to legalize sex work, we totally oppose. And the reason is very simple, is it trashes the character. You do not learn discipline. You do not learn any work skills, any sort of thing like that. Now, women do move, some of them, the type A's, the smart ones, do move into management. In fact, in our neighborhoods in Bangkok, what we see, and this is throughout Thailand, the trafficking actually starts by young women trafficking each other. Okay. So they're trafficked locally by little older women, sometimes older teens, women in their 20s. That's how they start. And so sometimes they get into that sort of thing. But the bottom line, again, is that women are, or young men, okay, that get into transgender prostituting and stuff. We see just broken character and just need for starting almost from childhood. And some have used the word reparenting, taking folks and just, providing jobs, providing safety, providing housing, but more importantly, being family. And in Thai culture, it works, and Philippine culture is the same. In Asia, we use familial terms. So I am dad, okay? I have a bunch of young women call me dad, okay? And my wife is mom. And that's what we do. Now, it's not as much as we would like, perhaps. We don't have the time to really do it, but as much as possible, we're pouring into their lives. In fact, here's what I now say to a young woman. You are precious. Okay. You are adorable. You are wonderfully made. And I am honored to meet you. I am honored to know you. But you know what? you No matter what happens to us, it doesn't matter if I'm walking across the street and a drunk driver runs over me. I still have to do my healing. You can't do it for me. As much as I would like to do anything for you, and I will do anything for you, you have to go through this. We will walk with you, okay? We will help you. We will be here for you as far as you want to go. If you've got intelligence and you've got ambition and you want to end up learning English and going to Harvard, we'll, by God's power, if we can, we'll help you get there, okay? But you have to do it. And that's kind of the main lesson I've learned, okay, in doing this work, that treating them as victims that might be the most intuitive thing is the most hurtful thing.
That's really helpful. And gosh, such important work. Myth number 4 about trafficking is that survivors never want to go back. What have you seen?
There are experiments where rats that were raised accustomed to chaotic surroundings, and then taken out, will go back and choose those. There is a definite psychology of a customization. It's all about learned safety. There's really nothing that motivates the individual psyche more than that need for safety. And when you've got trauma, okay, growing up where you haven't known safety, the best safety you've seen is chaotic. Sometimes a more safe environment feels unsafe to you, okay? Just like anybody who's worked with inner city kids in the hood in the US, and you take them out to a camp or a woods or something, and they're scared because it's so quiet. It's like that. What to us looks obvious and safe, to someone else, of course, it can't be heaven, right? They're not gonna get everything that they want or need, and they'll try because they're looking for immediate answers. That's again what unsafety does. We feel in crisis. We feel like we need it now. And so many that we work with, they run and often back because that quick money, all right, is still too much of a draw. And then again, there's that customization to it. So it's heartbreaking. When we started, I saw this and I was like, we were trying to do everything to stop him. No, 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 no. And we found that didn't work, of course. I was picturing women, suicidal. And I found out that, yeah, it's awful. And you want to prevent it as much as you can, but sometimes it's the same as bottom with addictions and so forth. You have to let people go. And so, yes, they do go back. They do go back. In fact, we have a number of our alumni of our own ministry are in other countries now that they've willingly gone, working in the business.
So what are the key components to helping these women not get re-trafficked?
The main thing that survivors need is first safety, 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 safety. Best lesson we ever learned was that you cannot heal unless you're safe. And so we push safety in our environment with workers. We train it. We emphasize safe communication. Certainly, she needs skills, okay? And some of the economic development stuff that we've seen and that we've tried, we tend to see for women, we go towards handcraft, make stuff for the gift market. We're not doing that anymore. We got to teach them computers. We got to teach them how to get on websites and have some real job skills. Third, the family totally has to get involved. You have to get to know families in Asia. Folks can't do it on their own. And safe communities. We don't have safe communities for the poor in Thailand very much. There's a lot of drugs, a lot of addictions. And so one of the key emphases that we have now is just focusing on one neighborhood in Bangkok and building safe resources through schools. We're partnered with schools and working on some other things to help just provide some health and some options for people within a neighborhood. And those kinds of things are pretty essential.
That's really helpful. Myth number 5 about trafficking is that donations are the best way for the average person to help. What things beyond just donations can people do to just help this global issue of trafficking?
One of the things that we've toyed with, and it gets complicated, but I would like to see people connect using social media. Folks are online, and I looked. I have a paper that I kept, and it just kind of lists ways to help youth out of poverty. And one of the top ones, helping a youth understand value, but having connections. Poor people don't know anybody. Okay. They live in enclaves. If you ask a poor Thai girl what she wants to be when she grows up, she's going to say teacher, doctor, or air hostess, a flight attendant. Okay. Because that's all they hear about. They don't know business owners or, things like that. And when they go to get jobs, again, they talk to who they know. Oh, well, you can go work in this bar. Hello. And so helping just to connect people to resources, to that person who can say, like what's that movie, Will Smith, The Pursuit of Happiness, right? He at least had the contact, had the opportunity to get in there and do that, right? And so, yes, opportunity through connection. And also just folks that, I don't know. Again, these girls that call me, I've got 20-year-olds, that I talk to regularly. Okay. I'm in the States now, and I have 20-year-olds that I talk to, and they think it's pretty cool that they have this farang. That's what they call Westerners in Thailand, dad, and I think that's something that folks could do. Now, safety stuff and that, how to manage it and make it work, I'm not sure yet, but it's something on that order would be something that comes to mind where folks could do a lot more than just send a PayPal donation. Certainly in this day and age, again, with the internet, we're able to find out, right, where stuff is made, where it's coming from. There's a whole network of fair trade enterprises out there that are supporting women at risk, and dignity is one. And so that definitely is a way that folks can help.
Is there anything else that you want to share with us?
One of the passions that I have is I've spent most of my adult life working among the have-nots, but rubbing shoulders with a lot of haves. A friend of mine has a kitchen almost half the size of my house. Wonderful lady that helps women in Nigeria. What I've seen is so many folks could help in ways that they just don't know. They have know-how, whether it's in education, business, mental health, a lot of areas, okay, that people know things and can do things, have connections that can help, that could help someone on the ground, whether it's Manila or Bangkok or Mexico City. And it's making that connection, those connections, that kind of gets me excited. And I would encourage you, if listening to this, you're listening to this because you're interested. Certainly, Eric, Dignity can help connect you with groups that are, sometimes it's the small ones too, right? It's not necessarily World Vision and the World Relief, et cetera, do good work. Some of the well-known ones, Compassion. But what I've seen out there is folks that are just in a village or in a neighborhood, serving their hearts out, giving their hearts out. Okay, having people in their homes and just, loving people day and night and cleaning up their messes and so on. And again, sometimes working with very little funding, sure, very little funding sometimes, but also just know-how. Mental health is really big, again, because of trauma, and trauma is a buzzword now. People are understanding it better. And certainly folks that can help on that side, but also, again, education and other things that I mentioned. Education, business, mental health would be three big ones. Or sometimes there are skills that we've thought about. Maybe you're a digital nomad, okay? You know what it's about. You could find work for someone to get on the ground level of whether it's doing some SEO or some data entry or something, or help think out of the box. Just kind of, you got an idea, you can contact me and I'll help, point you the direction. That's something that I like to do. I think there's a lot more, that could be done, especially with global connection, with the technology that we have now.
Thanks, Jim. This has been great to hear from you and hear more of your story. Are there any stories that you want to share?
Let's go on the other side. I mentioned haves that have ability, know-how that could help others that they don't know. And I think they still do it, and it's still the same name, the United Negro College Fund. Growing up in the 60s, 70s, they would have these commercials. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. And I think about that a lot, okay? Because when you're out there and you do work with folks on the lower end of life, and you meet some really smart, gifted people with really high potential. One of them right now that I'm following very closely is 41 years old. Grew up in Bangkok's largest slum, just abused out of her mind. But you know what? Her main abuse was she got in trouble, of course, because abused kids get into trouble. When her mom went to sign her out of the juvenile detention, her mom said, "I'm not claiming her. I'll sign, but she's not my daughter anymore." And despite getting beaten by her dad and raped and this and that, that was the wound that hurt her. And through a long process, okay, of going back and forth, back to the work and so on, she got healed. She figured it out that that mother's love, that wound that she was seeking with all of her might, wasn't going to meet it. There were other things that would. Now she's in her first year at university studying to be a teacher. And there's a lot more out there. Okay. Now, this process of helping her through all of this journey, okay, and I'm doing this, 17 years. But I'll guarantee you, if you got the time to connect to someone, to get involved at that level and stay with it, you'll be crying with joy.
Thank you. Yeah, I think this has been really good. Thanks for meeting with us, and thanks for sharing your story and sharing what you've learned over these long, hard 18 years.